Hi, I'm Alani. The world is on fire, and I'm going to read through it. And to do that, I thought I would do a new series called What I've Read, What I'm Reading, and What I'm Going to Read. So let's start with what I've read. The first book that I've read recently is Anathema by Carrie Lake. She's a big girl, like she's hefty. She is thick with a QUE, and we love her. She is a gothic fantasy romance, and she did what she had to do. Um, I've never read a book like this before, and I probably never will again. It's very, very slow burn, very slow burn. It's has a lot of gore, it has a lot of horror, it has a lot of just like truly tragic things. And I don't know, I loved reading it. I was hooked from the first page, because the way that she describes this world is so specific, and it's so detailed that you can't help but want to be like immersed in it. It's also dual point of view, so and it takes the dual point of view for most of the book takes place in different places, so it's not like you're just kind of bored in one world. You get to see the world through the female main character's eyes, and you get to see the world through the male main character's eyes. Ugh, and when they finally come together, it just feels like the greatest climax. The next book I read is literally the complete opposite. It is called The Match by Sarah Adams. I read this in like one of the book club that me and my friends have, and we pick up a new book to read probably like every 2 months or so and just read it together and talk about it. Um, this book is about a girl with epilepsy who has a service dog and works for a service dog company, and she is in charge of like matching a service dog with this guy's daughter, who also has epilepsy. So that's kind of how they meet. It's like not a great meeting at first, and then it kind of gets going. I was bored. I remember finishing this book and being like, I don't really understand like why a book had to be written about this couple. Like there was nothing truly like legendary or truly like unique or like worth reading about. The fact that the female main character has a service dog like isn't enough to make this a good romance book. Like it isn't enough to make their story worth telling. The writing was good. The other thing that I didn't have a problem with, but also that I noted, was that this was a closed door romance. So for a romance that has two adults that want to engage in that kind of act with each other, but you're not going to put it on page, I feel like you do have to have like really great undeniable tension. You have to have like a really great conflict or a thing keeping them apart or keeping them together or something. And this book just didn't have that, and it didn't have the smut to like make up for lack of that. I read a lot of smutty books. So I was just like, okay. 3 stars, nothing crazy. Oh, and Anathema, I think I gave this like 4 stars, like 4.25. It's really good. I will be reading the second one. Now for what I'm currently reading. So I'm currently reading The Dead Romantics, and I am going to be honest, I am not loving her so far. This book has a lot to do with grief, but it's also a romance, and it feels like the author just didn't really realize how to marry the two. And so when I'm reading this about this woman in like immense grief trying to figure out her way, and then all of a sudden this random love interest appears, I'm like, ah, okay, like what's he doing here? Like who invited him? So I don't know, but I'm only 70% through, so maybe something will drastically change in the last 30%. We will see. That is the only book I'm reading so far, but I have a lot of books that I will be reading, and we can go through those. So for the books I will be reading, I'm really excited for this list because I've heard great things about most of these titles. The first one is The Favorites. This is my book of the month pick. I think it's about like ice skaters or something, and there's a lot of like yearning or passion. So yeah, like immediately I was like, we'll be reading. Next book is Flock by Kate Stewart. I'm going to be reading this with Lindsay and Lauren in my friend book club that I mentioned. Lauren read it and she told me to read it, and she doesn't care if I love it or hate it, but she wants to see what I think about it. So I'm very interested. They know that my taste in books, they know that I'm a pretty hard judge of character, so we will see. The next book I'm going to be reading, I think, is Lore of the Wilds. So based on how voting is going in like my virtual open to the public adult romance book club, the Bimbo Bookish Club, please go join. Link is going to be wherever links are. We will probably be reading Lore of the Wilds because that's the most voted on one so far. I'm nervous about this one because I've heard a lot of mixed reviews, but there is a black woman on the cover and it's a love triangle. So, like, how bad could it possibly be? that's it for what I've read, what I'm reading, and what I will be reading. Please let me know what you've read, what you're reading, and what you will be reading in the comments, or DM me. I don't care, but I do want to know because I'm always looking for book recs.